Welcome to Lessons for Life and a very Merry Christmas. That's right, it is Christmas Eve tonight. Did you know that? Christmas Eve.
You told me on the way home.
Yeah.
So happy Christmas to those who are celebrating today. Some of you have already celebrated Christmas. How come there are other people that haven't celebrated Christmas, Julian, yet?
Yeah, for about a third of the world's Christians, the Eastern Orthodox Christians, their Christmas is tomorrow, the 7th of January.
Is it out of season?
Well, the reason why there's a split between when the Christians celebrate Christmas is because the Western Christians, the Protestants and the Catholics, follow the Gregorian calendar, which was introduced by Pope Gregory in 1500 and something or other. And the Eastern Orthodox Christians stayed with the Julian calendar. It's actually called the Julian calendar.
Oh, okay.
It's the best calendar.
Were you named by him?
Yeah, I must have been it's actually after Julius Caesar. So they retained the old calendar, and the Western Christians adopted the new calendar. But the Eastern Orthodox Christians split from the Catholic Church in around 1000 and something. So for the first 1,000 years, pretty much Christians were all united, and there was just one church. And Catholic means universal. So they see themselves as the universal, original church. But the Orthodox Christians see themselves as the original, and Orthodox means what? Normal or usual. So really, it was the Western Christians who split away. And you could say that the Eastern Orthodox Christians are closer to the original teachings of Jesus, and they are the Christians that maintained that direct line and tradition going back all the way to the early patriarchs.
So did the teachings have changed with the Catholic? The book have changed? Like what's...
There are slightly different doctrines and beliefs, and I think the original debate that caused the Great Schism was over the role of the Holy Spirit. And the Catholic Church was very insistent that the Holy Spirit and the Father and the Son are all one, as in the Trinity. And I think the Orthodox Church, although they accepted the Trinity, they had a slightly different belief that put the Holy Spirit as something more separate from the other two. But that is quite interesting that for 1,000 years all the Christians were united as one entity. I mean, how long after the Prophet were Muslims split into different factions?
I don't have the exact dates, but I don't know. I think probably after the 4 Khalifas, maybe people started to disagree whether Ali, why Ali is the 4th and not, I think I would assume it was after the 4th Khalifa, but I'm not certain if
certainly
those are the dates.
Under Ali, there must have been a time when everyone agreed that Ali was the rightful successor.
Yeah. I think it's after that when the division started.
There was division. Well, the Christians managed to be united for around 1,000 years, and the early Christians started in the Holy Land, and they had churches in Jerusalem, churches in Antioch, and all the chapters in the Bible that are after the crucifixion of Jesus mention these different churches, and there's letters that were sent to the Romans, for example, and Paul, who had been, although Jewish originally, a traitor to the Jews, who served the Romans, and a traitor to the Christians, in the sense that he was responsible for killing Christians when the Romans were persecuting the Christians. Then on the road to Damascus, famously, he saw this vision of Jesus, who told him now's the time to stop killing Christians and you should become a Christian. So Paul had this vision, changed his life. I've seen the road in Damascus where famously this is supposed to have happened. And they set up churches in all these cities, and one of the main churches was Rome.
Okay.
Hence the Roman Catholic Church. And another seat of power was in what was known as Byzantium, and later became known as Constantinople.
Would that be Turkey?
Which is modern day Turkey, modern day Istanbul.
Yeah.
And this is where Constantine, the first Roman emperor to become Christian, it's named after him. So
Constantine.
Yeah, Constantine. After Constantine. And in around the year 1000, you had this struggle for power with Christians loyal to Rome, Christians loyal to Constantinople, and eventually they split, and the western part became the Roman Catholic Church, and the eastern part remained as the Orthodox Christians.
In the Middle East, would you say mainly they're Orthodox? I mean,
it's a mix.
What would you say? Like Egypt?
So the Coptic Christians, the original Christian inhabitants of Egypt, they are, for example, Orthodox Christians. They are with the East. They will be having their Christmas Day tomorrow.
Okay.
Along with Russia and other places like Serbia, Greece, Ethiopia. But the Orthodox Church, I believe, has 14 different autonomous churches within it that are usually national churches. So you have the Greek Orthodox Church, you have the Russian Orthodox Church. In the Middle East, in these majority Muslim countries, you might have Christians who follow the Bishop of Antioch, which is a city currently in Turkey, although it's originally part of Syria.
Okay.
And Christians from Syria, Christians from Palestine, Christians from Lebanon might follow the Bishop of Antioch.
I lost you here. So you said they were a mix of Orthodox and Catholic?
The Christians of the Middle East are a mix of Orthodox and Catholic. Possibly a majority are Orthodox. But because the Orthodox Church has 14 different autonomous churches...
What do you mean by autonomous?
They have their own authority. They're independent. They have the same beliefs, but they are independent. Whereas the Roman Catholic Church, with a few exceptions, tends to have churches that are in full communion with the Pope in Rome. And what the Pope says,
they have to follow.
They have to follow.
Okay, I see.
But, for example, the Maronite Christians in Lebanon, their beliefs are pretty much in line with what the Roman Catholic Church teaches, but they are an independent church.
So when you say they're independent, they take their decisions alone? They don't have to go back to
They don't have to follow the Pope.
Okay, I see.
And similarly, the Syrian Catholic Church, which has a lot of believers from Iraq and from Syria, and really it means Greater Syria.
Okay.
Their doctrine is more in line with the Eastern Orthodox Christians. They have the same beliefs, but technically they follow the Pope. So you get a lot of sort of crossover and grey area churches that you could say are closer to being Catholic and following the Pope, and churches that are closer to being Orthodox.
Okay.
But it is Orthodox Christmas tomorrow, and that's why we'd like to wish all the Orthodox Christians in whichever country they are a very Merry Christmas, and just remind people that there's more to Christmas than what we understand in the West, and all of this Santa Claus and the kind of commercialized side of Christmas in European and North American countries is probably completely unrecognizable to a lot of the true believing Christians in the world.
What's the relationship between Catholic and Orthodox? Are they do they greet each other? Like the common one, we know it's the 25th of December. Everybody's celebrating, and now when people say Christmas, like what? I celebrate. Do they have the right for a holiday to celebrate? Like, what's the deal?
Yeah, I would have thought that this day would be a holiday in most Orthodox countries, and actually the 6th of January today is also a special day in the Western calendar. This is what's known as Epiphany, or the 12th day of Christmas. Christmas is said to last for 12 days, and the 12th day today remembers when the Magi, or the kings, arrived with the gifts for Jesus, the gold, the frankincense, and the myrrh. So 6th of January is a very big celebration in Spain, for example.
Okay.
Today is bigger in Spain traditionally than the 25th of December.
I see.
But every country will have its own local traditions.
And the way they celebrate it, would it be similar to, like, again, the Christmas tree, exchanging gifts? And
the Christmas tree came from Norway, and that's only, I think, 150 years ago or so. So these are not really ancient traditions, but they might relate back to some kind of pagan ritual from before the Christian times. There has been a winter festival in Europe for thousands of years that predates Christianity, and that would explain why Christmas is on the 25th of December or the 6th of January. But the Christian church chose that day because people already had a celebration.
Okay.
Just like when the Catholics went to Mexico and Central America and they found that the local inhabitants were worshipping a goddess, they tried to replace that goddess with the story of Mary. So the people began almost worshipping Mary, but they tried to substitute the local belief and Christianize it. I say, no, not the goddess. This is Mary. And if you want to say that there's some special woman in religion, well, it's Mary.
Okay, I see. What is a clear difference between Orthodox and Catholic practices?
I think,
or beliefs, like something very.
For example, the veneration of Mary, the mother of Jesus, in the Roman Catholic Church, she is elevated very high, very highly, to a greater extent than in certainly the Protestant Church and even in the Orthodox Church, although she is known as Theotokos in the Orthodox Church, which does mean Mother of God, I believe. Theo, God.
Okay.
Tokos, mother. So she does have a very high position, but not to the point at which the Catholics almost worship Mary, and some call her co-redemptrix, putting her almost on the level of Jesus in terms of salvation. So that would be one difference. There are simple practical differences in the Roman Catholic Church. When the people make the sign of the cross, that it's this way because the church spread to the west, and in the Eastern Orthodox Church they go that way because the church spread to the east. So it's just a little
So the cross
memory
is
of that.
about how it's spread. It has nothing to do with
That's when they make the sign of the cross,
Okay.
remembering when,
I never knew that.
as they believe, Jesus was crucified, and all Eastern Orthodox churches face towards the east.
Okay.
And I think that's true for all churches, regardless of where they are in the world. But certainly, if you're in an Orthodox church in this country, it will be facing east. That will be the same Qibla as the Muslims. For example, so a Muslim could pray in an Orthodox church without too much trouble in the West.
Would you say there is a similarity? There is more similarity between Muslims and Orthodox in any way, more than Catholic?
I think so. Yes, particularly if you look at the Coptic Christians and the way that they pray and they prostrate on the ground. I'm sure there was a time when all Christians did this, but it's particularly practiced in the Coptic Church that they do prostrate with their head on the ground, as is mentioned in the Bible that Jesus at some point did that. So certainly there's common ground between the Orthodox Christians and the Muslims. Well, at the time of the Quran being written or sent down, it was before the year 1000. So there was only one type of Christian at the time. So when the Quran talks about different factions and different groups within the Christians, and there's certain phrases and pages that are taken out of context, like don't be friends with certain Christians, and another time it says the closest friends to you will be the Christians.
Yes.
It's probably a bit confusing or looks like a contradiction, but if you take it in the sense that there will be like any group of people, there will be different
people
Christians.
Following the truth, and people are.
Yeah, there will be, and that's not to say that all Orthodox Christians are good and all Catholic Christians are bad or anything like that. I don't think you can ever treat certain people with one blanket policy.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting to note that in the context of history, this was a time when Christians were more united than they are now. And is the word in the Quran for Christians Nasara, or are they mentioned as
Masih?
Is that mentioned in the Quran as well?
Oh, you're asking me some questions that I'm doubting myself.
Okay.
I know
because Ahl Kitab obviously means people of the book, which can refer to both Jews and Christians. Masihin literally means Christians, but is that mentioned in the Quran?
Let me double check in case.
Problem.
I don't want to.
Certainly,
I think it is.
And Nasara is mentioned as well.
Yeah.
And we said before that relates to Nazareth, the one following the Nazarene. But this is the question: did the Christians at the time of Jesus call themselves Christians? Probably not. It's more of a label that we have attributed later on for followers of Jesus, who was regarded as the Messiah, Masih, or in Greek, Christ. So the early Christians, I would be very surprised if they called themselves Christians.
What do you think they would have called themselves?
I've heard different arguments. I've heard certainly the early Christians would have been Jewish and would have considered themselves Jews who are following the Messiah.
Okay.
And would have been Jewish in a tribal sense and a sense of identity. But there would have been Roman Christians who converted, who wouldn't have been Jewish, but they would probably have seen themselves as adopting a form of Judaism.
Okay.
And I'm sure that the early Muslims who thought they were following in the footsteps of Abraham and Jesus and the other monotheistic prophets wouldn't have known at the time that they were necessarily following a new religion, but rather a new religious community within a continuation of monotheistic religion. And I've heard it said that the point at which the Qibla changed from being towards Jerusalem to being towards Mecca was a sign that we are now a separate community. It's the same religion that Jesus taught, the same religion that Moses taught, that Abraham taught, but it's a new community within that. And religions always split off in the end, don't they? And like we said, after 1,000 years, the Catholics split from the Orthodox, and at the time of the Crusades, when the Catholic Church was trying to reconquer the Holy Land and recapture Jerusalem, we all remember it being kind of like a Christian against Muslim war, but there were times when the Catholics were fighting the Orthodox and competing for power in that sense. And I've even heard Palestinians tell me, at the time of the Crusades, some of the Christians would rather stay with the Muslims and be ruled under local Muslims than European Christians. But that's it's all history, isn't it?
Let me ask you about the future, let's say, or nowadays. Maybe I'll take you out of topic, I don't know. But when it comes to a country ruling everyone, the people, your personal opinion, do you think they should follow a religion? Do you think they should rule a country by the book? Depends where we are in life, where Christianity or Islam or, wherever you are in the world. Or do you think they shouldn't be following a book ruling a country?
I don't think anyone in recent times who's tried to do it has got it right.
I agree with you.
So 100%. for that reason, I'd rather live in a secular country where everyone's free to practice their religion, rather than inflict it on someone else. If Jesus wants to come back and rule the world, that'll be up to him.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone else should.
Some people have the understanding that Christianity means that they believe that Jesus is the Son of God, and some understands the concept that no, Jesus is God. Do you know, is there a group that believes this and that, or this understanding is between both Orthodox and
the majority opinion among all Christians, with a few notable exceptions, is that God is the Father and the Son. He appears in the form of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Christians will say to you, we believe in God in the sense that water can be water, can be steam, can be ice. All three different forms of the same entity. That's their take on what God is. I did say that around the time of the schism, the Orthodox Church, I believe, had a slightly different interpretation that would mean that the Holy Spirit was set apart slightly.
Okay.
I'll have to research that. But it's a very, very personal thing, and I think if you ask most Christians what do they mean when they say Father, Son, Holy Spirit, they'll have different interpretations.
Let me ask. I'll give you I don't know if it's a similarity, but it's a question. In Islam, we say Rabb al-samawati wal-ard, and Rabb can be used as Rabb al-Usra. Yeah. So Rabb can be Lord of the family. Would there be any similarity when they say Father here?
Well,
in
people
Christianity.
get bogged down with this word father, and Muslims are very particular to say, oh, you mustn't call God father because God doesn't have a child and is not begotten. But really, what you're saying is don't say father and mean it literally.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The word Rab is different when
There
you
you
use it
go.
in Arabic. You know, you
There you
say
go.
Rab Samawat wal Ard.
Yeah.
It's obviously it's God, and
That's
when
right.
we say Rab in a different context,
So
and we
you
say
could.
Rabbul Usra, it's different. It's the father or the responsible of the family. So it's how you use it in which context, and obviously in Islam, it's all by intention. So whatever we intend inside to do or believe, it's mainly what we are going to be accountable of.
That's right.
I don't know the similarity here between Christianity and Islam when discussing niyyah, as we say, intention.
There are differences. There are definitely differences, but I think why can't you just put your differences aside?
Because sometimes when people find similarities, they connect together. So that's why when I asked you about Orthodox and Catholic, the similarities and the differences. Like, as an example, if everybody was celebrating on the same day, you would see that they are all one. Like what you said, 1,000 years ago, they were all one. So that the different understanding is splitting people. Like Sunnah and Shia.
Muslims don't celebrate on the same day, even if
no, yeah, of course, yeah. There's people that celebrate a day before and a day after.
I'm not criticizing them, by the way. I think that's right that you should celebrate on.
There's a group of people here that
day.
have started to follow the moon, and they've took decisions to sight the moon and make a decision rather than follow what a country would say, the nearest country. And I agree with you. I can't disagree with people when they want to celebrate. At the end of the day, I'll greet them, they will greet me, and we are all one. We want to celebrate together. We want to, we don't want our differences to separate us, isn't it?
The Muslims don't all pray at the same time of day, do they?
No, yeah.
So why do you have to have Eid on the same day?
I'm not saying you have to have Eid on the same day. I'm just saying similarities and differences. Some people, just because they are different, they don't want to mix with you. Like, I know a lot of big groups of communities that would say stick together, because if we mix with different communities, then there is a danger of you losing your practice, your religion, your understanding, and especially people that move abroad. They always have the fear that their kids will leave their religion behind or will have a different understanding and, different lifestyle. I myself, as a parent, I don't practice that style. I teach my daughter the understanding of religion and culture and beliefs that I believe, but I don't stop her from mixing with other people and understanding their religion, their concept, and their way of living. At the end of the day, we all should live together, isn't it? We are going to mix with one another.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
What would be your final input here?
Just remember that there's more to Christmas than the 25th of December. There's Bob the Builder, evening all. And Bob, Merry Christmas. I don't know when you personally celebrate Christmas, but it is a Christmas tomorrow, the 7th of January in the Gregorian calendar, but it's Christmas in the Julian calendar. And Omar is saying Eid would be better with one day as it used to be pre-1924. He wants to go back to 1924 and the Ottoman Empire, I would say. And the Ottoman Empire did a lot of terrible things, Omar. I hate to break it to you. They did a lot of terrible things. But if you think celebrating Eid on one day was a good thing, then good for you.
I would stick to 3 days, 10 days. The merrier, the better.
More the merrier, indeed. This has been Lessons for Life, and thank you very much for joining us. Bob the Builder is saying, Merry Christmas. We've got 40 days of it, So, 40 days. There you go. I thought it was the 12 days of Christmas, and in the Western Church we were on Epiphany, the final day. But Bob is telling us there's another 28 to go. My maths is not very good.
Okay.
This has been Lessons for Life, and we'll do it all again soon. Thank you for joining us. We were here, and we are gone. Latest.
And for those who joined my live, thank you